Hello, so I wanted to show off my toxic rain build. Um, so after I've gotten my last 8 ascendancy points, I respect a bit out of life because I originally had spec down to the duelist area and up to the life wheel. But because I need to stack a lot of energy shield, so I can always 10% dodge spell hits, and that made me go upwards to the lich area. Furthermore, I was using a mana flask before, but now because I have some mana regen and I have combined 13 less mana cost on Toxic Rain, that makes me able to cast it all the time. And I had some mana issues earlier when I was fighting some of the exiles, because I was running out of mana charges in the end of the fight, so I had to do something. I'm using Vertex because it grants a lot of energy shield and evasion rating, so when you're a Trickster you actually get extra evasion rating from energy shield on your helmet. And I'm using Queen of the Forest. Actually it's not so much for the extra movement speed, but it gives some. It's more because it has 2100 evasion rating, and that's also grants extra, how do I say it, energy shield. I'm just using some regular gloves. They could be anything. Later I'm going to try and craft some elder gloves that can give some extra chaos damage time multiplier. I'm using one of the new mods from it's the Hunter mod. It can give chaos damage over time multiplier, and that helps a lot. I just crafted it by using what is it called? Aberrant fossil. It cost me 1 chaos each, so that was very cheap to make. I created the bow by using Imperial divination card. Let me see here. Okay. I was using 22 of these, and I bought them for 2 chaos each, so it was very cheap to get a base, 6-link base with 1.45 attacks per second for 44 chaos. And then to lock out certain prefixes, I was crafting it with corroded, because then I locked out all the elemental modifiers. And then I used the lightning gem here, because then I locked out physical modifiers. And in theory there should only be like 3 different choices then as prefixes, and that really helps crafting a bow that grants total extra, how do I say it, extra gem levels. But I didn't get that lucky, and I might attempt some more later. I would also like to change my craft, but I need to unveil more from the syndicate before I can get some extra chaos damage. I'm just using a regular crystal belt because I don't want to use any currency rolling a decent, how do I say it, a decent duel yet, so it's just a cheap way of getting a lot of energy shield, and combining it with some resistances and some mana. I could actually craft something extra, but I don't know what to craft yet, if I want damage or some extra life or something like that. For Flasks, I'm just using a Quicksilver that gives movement speed. I'm using a Jade Flask. Of course I want to be immune to freeze. I also want to be immune to curses, so I'm using a Quartz Flask for that. And since I'm using Witchfire Brew, this grants 100 extra evasion rating, I'm choosing to use a Jade Flask that grants flat evasion rating. This grants a Despair Curse around you, so it's very good when you are mapping, but at bosses, because we don't have any way to generate a lot of flash charges in bosses, I manually curse them with Despair. I'm using Wither Totems that grants extra chaos damage over time, and then I'm using Withering Step when I can. That also grants some withering debuffs on the boss, so it's actually important to cast it while you boss fight. But let's see here. Now I'm going to do this tier 12 park map.
Greetings.
Yeah, I want to fight some beasts. So I'm just making sure to use all my master missions when I can, but I'm of course saving my sauna and my Nico missions for later because I want some extra sulfide and I want some higher tier maps. So generally speaking, when you're mapping like this, it goes in a decent pace. It's not like it's the fastest build ever, but it's quite tanky when you're fighting these bosses, and that's what actually is very important in this patch. And it's quite cheap to make. I think I've spent like 3x ults on the build so far in total. And that was crafting the bow as well, because some of these fossils were actually quite expensive this league. It cost me like 20 chaos to roll the bow each time. So that was like half the bow value. I think that's because there's a lot of people that actually wants to craft these +3 bows, because it's so easy in the start of the league to just do that. You can see here when I'm fighting this guy that I'm very evasive, so he doesn't hit me that much, and that's actually what makes the build very tanky, because you have a lot of EHP. And when you take a hit because you lose your ghost routes, then you just back up for a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to put some debuffs on this guy and move out of the dots, of course. So you can see if you just use your brain in these fights, then it's not the biggest issue. I need to adjust my loot filter, I think, because there's so much crap going on, especially with the new league. With all these components that drops all the time, it can be quite annoying actually. But I like fighting the bosses in the end, and they grant a lot of good drops. Actually, the other day an exalt dropped for me, but then I got some sort of bug and the game crashed. So my map didn't crash, but every time I went into the map and I neared the zone where I had fought the boss, then I couldn't. Then I crashed again, so I had to leave an exalt inside a map. That was quite annoying. But that's just what happens. Where's this guy? Okay, I'm going to be a little bit quiet now. Just see what I do when I'm finishing this map, and I'll talk a bit next time.
That was a hunch you were not so good at. You're welcome. Goodbye.
It's a bit laggy right now. I think the servers are bad, and I'm sorry about that if it ruins the video quality. It's a bit annoying to play with. I can feel when I press something it takes an extra millisecond or an extra second sometimes. Okay, so there's only 27 monsters left now, so let's spawn the metamorph. Try to create something good. Life regen, doesn't matter too much. Rare jewelry, yeah, that's fine. Evasive, doesn't matter when we deal dots. So extra cold damage, powerful crits, or life regen. Okay, currency, we want currency, fast attack, sleep, extra fire damage, bonus energy shield, yeah, doesn't matter. We deal chaos damage. Okay, so you can see here the totems are applying this wither stacks, and yeah, we just need to move out from this constant damage, but otherwise it shouldn't be an issue. And the good thing about these boss fights is that they spawn a lot of ads, so as a trickster you heal a lot of natural. got a heart. I think that the eyes are very rare because I've only gotten one eye so far. That sucks a bit. So just lastly, I want to talk about jewels. On regular jewels, you can stack some chaos multiplier, chaos damage multiplier, or damage over time, or area damage, or chaos damage in plane. Right now I'm just using Ancient Orb that grants some extra life and some chance to blind on hit. I don't think I'm blinding, it's because of the onslaught on kill, because I don't have an onslaught fast, so that makes mapping a bit better. And when I get this I will just buy an ordinary jewel, I think. So when you can see my pathing here, it doesn't include a lot of jewel sockets, and that's because it's a league starter and don't want to invest a lot of money or chaos into it. I want to just save some money and start investing later. Okay? Well, thank you for tuning in and have a nice day. Bye.